Thanks for joining today's snapshot for June 22nd, Monday. I often say this is for the people of Dr. Martin Luther Church, but it's for anybody who tunes in. We have a lot of people throughout the Midwest who watch these snapshots. I hope for all who watch that you find it somehow edifying and helps you to appreciate God's gracious claim on our lives. But for the people of Dr. Martin Luther Church, we are making a video this afternoon to give you an orientation to our indoor worship that begins this weekend at the regular times. I hope you'll watch it when you get the email notification. And we'll have our online services continuing, of course. Well, today, June 22nd, is the day when we recognize Thomas More, who died in 1535, a martyr's death. He clashed, as I'm sure you remember, with Henry VIII. He was the chancellor. Thomas More was a chancellor, lawyer, statesperson during Henry VIII's reign. And when Henry VIII left Catherine of Aragon because she didn't have a male child, he wanted to have his children with Anne Boleyn recognized as successors to the throne. Well, Thomas More would not go along with that. He had too much integrity, which we hear so much about in the Gospel of Matthew, to go along with that. Listen to what he says about integrity. Reputation, honor, fame, what is all that but a breath of air from another person's mouth? No sooner spoken but gone. He also exhibited the discipleship that Jesus talks about in the Gospel of Matthew, so much so that it cost him his life. Henry VIII wanted, as I said, Thomas More to say that Anne Boleyn's children with Henry VIII would be the successors to the throne. And he refused to go along with that. So he was thrown in the Tower of London, vermin infested, full of torture. And while there, Henry VIII also wanted to have him swear an oath to the Supremacy Act. Now, all the other bishops went along with this, saying that indeed Henry VIII was the supreme head of the church. Well, as a faithful Roman Catholic, Thomas More would have no part of that. He was such a fervent Roman Catholic, he didn't like Luther at all. And eventually, of course, because it had cost him his life, he was named a saint by the church. And, you know, St. Thomas More has a high school named after him in Milwaukee. He had these very famous quotes, some of this which were quite humorous. He was a witty man. On his way up to the scaffold, he said this to the lieutenant who was bringing him up to the hangman's place. He said, "I pray you, Master Lieutenant, see me safely up. And as for coming down, I think I'll take care of that by myself." Well, he died on July 6th, but we recognize his martyrdom today on June 22nd because a bishop named John Fisher was killed on this day. So More is recognized on the same day as Fisher is recognized. Fisher was the only other bishop who did not swear to the Supremacy Act, and he was hanged, drawn, and quartered. Let's hope it was in that order when it happened. For our closing hymn, well, before our closing hymn, let me suggest that you look at Netflix for the movie A Man for All Seasons, which won the Academy Award for Best Picture in 1966. It won 6 Academy Awards, including Best Actor for Paul Scofield. You could waste 2 hours in a worse way than watching that movie. The closing hymn I want to mention is Once to Every Man and Nation, a hymn that's no longer in our hymnal because of the sexist language and decisional theology. But I think it's a great hymn, and I lost it here. Let me find it because I don't want to re-record this right now. Hold on. Here we go. Once to every man and nation. The tune is once to every man and nation comes the moment to decide. I missed the hymn. In the strife of truth with falsehood for the good or evil side. Some great cause, God's new Messiah, offering each the bloom or blight, and the choice goes by forever twixt that darkness and that light. God bless you today.